Welcome. It's the Holy Hour podcast. It's the 3 times a week podcast. Let's kick this party off. It's Friday night. We got shows to review to catch up on. No rest for the wicked. Whew. San Francisco. Let's kick it off. I talked to Tyler out there in not San Francisco technically. This was in Mountain View. I learned from this conversation. Don't call it San Francisco. All right, I'm Gavin. This is my conversation with Tyler, talking about nights 1 and 2 at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California. And that brings us to San Francisco. And
right.
or should I say Mountain View?
Mountain View.
Okay, cool. And this other voice that you're hearing, fine people out there, is none other than Tyler. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you for having me back.
Man, long-time contributor, and I really appreciate you reaching out and letting us know how San Francisco goes, or should we call it Mountain View? Is this something that people out there would get very
Yes.
on edge about? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because Mountain View, it's still like maybe 20 miles south of San Francisco.
Okay, yeah. We have a couple of weird spots like that. Like that Maryland show here is a little weird like that, where it's like outside of Baltimore, but it's still kind of the DC gig too. So we're calling it that. Yeah, nobody's like, let's go to Columbia, Maryland. I was like, yeah,
right.
But yeah, well, that's cool. We'll call it Mountain View then. So for the official record there, you can set us straight. But yeah, just doing the nerd list over here on paper, looking at everything from afar. It looks like you got quite a pair of shows there, especially when you do the 1-2 punch with them. So I can't wait to hear all about it. So thank you for walking us through this experience. But so yeah, I guess on the top, pretty awesome.
I mean,
where do we start?
Well, so first of all, like, I'm just glad that The Cure did 2 shows.
Yeah.
Because
this was an added one, right? One of the ones that added. Okay, cool.
Yeah, like when I saw them in 2016, I did the 3 Hollywood Bowl shows and Shoreline in Mountain View. And honestly, if they had just done a couple shows in Shoreline, maybe I wouldn't have gone down to, the Hollywood Bowl. I mean, like, I'm glad I did. Those were fantastic shows.
I know.
So yeah, when they announced that Mountain View would be the one California date where it would just be the one date, I was like, oh, fuck, all right, whatever. Like I just started a new job recently that doesn't really allow me to travel like I used to be able to.
Right.
So I was like, I'll go to the one show, I'll make the most of it. And then they announced the second one, and I was talking to my wife. I was like, hey, like, let's do the 2 days. And she was like, all right, screw it, let's go. The only other time she saw them she and I went to our first Cure show together, which was the Reflections tour.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So she hadn't seen them since 2011. She hadn't seen them in a dozen years.
Yeah.
When I was going to the Hollywood Bowl shows and the Shoreline show in 2016, I asked if she wanted to go, and she was like, I've seen enough to last me a lifetime. So I was really glad that she agreed to go to these shows.
Cool.
And the first show was listen, like, any Cure show is a great show. Don't get me wrong. But I will say, of all the times I've seen them, this, for me at least, it was one of the lesser shows.
Okay.
And I think the reason being is that it really got, as far as the set list itself goes, it really got caught up in kind of like what the limitations that they kind of put on themselves by, we're going to open with this song, and then we'll do these 3 songs, and then we'll switch out a song, and then we'll do the same 3 songs we're doing every night.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I kind of knew what to expect in certain spots. Um, the big surprises for me at that first show were At Night,
Mm-hmm.
which is like top 10 Cure songs for me.
Yeah.
Um, Lost my shit when Simon started playing that like just crunchy, distorted bass line.
Yeah.
It was like,
Nasty.
yeah, it's nasty bass line. It was so good. Um, you know, Burn always is a highlight for me. Um, and the other thing also, which I should have mentioned up front, is that this is my first time seeing Perry on stage,
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's
which is great. I think it's cool that he's switching from guitar to keyboards based on what the song needs.
right.
I think that the three guitar attack that they do on certain songs like really works. I think that I mean like no disrespect to Pearl Thompson
Mm-hmm.
or Perry, but I love Reeves.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I love his work with Bowie,
Right.
but I mean like seeing just the soloing on A Night Like This or From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, it's just like you're just watching one of the greats.
Yeah, it really does seem like it's gelling a lot more, or maybe we're all just kind of really seeing it more now in a sense of
Yeah,
like not as like a new Cure member or something like that. You know,
exactly.
it's like this really
Exactly. Like
does add a
now
lot.
he is, you know, in he's in the band.
Yeah, yeah.
Um I'm trying to think of what the I mean also seeing all the new songs was a highlight for me.
Yeah, that's what I was
All
gonna
that
ask. Like, you know, we've all cheated and watched the YouTube clips a billion times at this point,
yeah,
you know. But like, I'm sure the experience of like seeing them in person and feeling it and seeing it has got to hit on a whole different level that I can't wait for.
100
But
100%.
cool.
Like I've listened there's like a video on YouTube where someone put the soundboard audio of those first five songs
Uh huh.
together. And I listened to that a few times. And even, you know, like listening to that, I was like, okay, I really like this song. This song's okay. I really like this song, you know, whatever. But seeing all of them live, it's like, fuck,
Yeah.
they're all really good. And I mean, like The Cure is one of those bands, and I would maybe also put like Depeche Mode in
Mm-hmm.
this camp, where their new stuff is just as good, or some of it is
Yeah.
just as good as the songs that made you initially fall in love with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And the heaviness of these songs, it they remind me of Bloodflowers
Mm-hmm.
a bit, particularly songs like Watching Me Fall or the title track,
Right.
because especially Alone and End Song, they're so drawn out. And I hate to use this word because I think it's very overused nowadays, but they have that epic feeling to them
Yeah.
that something like From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea has, or the song Disintegration has.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
There's something really brave about just knowing that you're gonna go into this song with this pace, you know, and like
right,
that, like because
right, for
it's
8 minutes
right.
plus.
It's like no, we're not going anywhere. Everyone get comfortable. It's
Right.
cool, cool, cool.
Um, I also really liked at the first show Shake Dog Shake because like you know me, I love the top.
Yeah,
And it was
gotta
really
represent.
cool. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it was really cool seeing that they put a visual of Perry on screen now
Yeah,
with the
that's
rest of
cool.
them.
They
I was, you know, yeah, cool,
included him
cool.
in.
And then the the first encore of the first show
Uh,
like ruined me.
yeah,
It
it's
was I Can Never Say Goodbye. It Can Never Be the Same. Plain Song, Prayers for Rain, and Disintegration.
yeah, that's
So it was just like, let's play the five songs that are gonna fuck Tyler up the most.
Oh man.
And it was funny because earlier before The Cure played, between the Twilight Sad and The Cure, there we had lawn for
Mm.
that show. And there were people who worked at the venue going around offering like popcorn, candy corn, churros, whatever.
Right.
And I wanted a churro at the time, but we couldn't get the person's attention. And so right at like the peak of the song Disintegration with the line, and now that I know that I'm breaking to pieces, like tears are rolling down my face.
Right.
The fucking churro guy comes
Churro.
out of nowhere and is like, churro? And my wife looks at me and she's like, do you want a churro? I'm like, no, I don't want a
I
churro.
don't want it anymore.
Yeah. Um,
That's funny.
she did end up buying one and I did end up eating
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Recover from it.
Yeah. Um,
You don't want to be
and
sobbing
then,
while eating one of those. It's just
yeah,
really like,
exactly. And then the second encore, I mean, the second encore was fine. I'm kind of over seeing The Cure just doing the pop encore. I get it,
Yeah,
especially after doing such an emotionally heavy show.
yeah,
But for me, like I would rather or I would rather see more obscure singles
yeah,
than, hot, hot, hot. It was cool to finally see Six Different Ways
yeah.
because The Head on the Door was one of the first two albums of theirs I ever listened to. So
Cool.
that was a song that I never thought I would see them do.
Yeah.
And even though it's probably my least favorite song on that album, it's still cool to see them do it.
Yeah, yeah, something different and
Yeah. And this is something that I was telling my wife, which is that The Cure is a band where every single time I've seen them, they've played at least one song I've never seen them do before.
cool. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
So, yeah, overall, the first show, we both left the show feeling like it was really good, but it could have been better.
It's funny you
And
said
then
that
we went
because
to this,
the second show, yeah, it's funny because like
yeah,
when I was like
and
just doing, and I always feel shitty like when I'm doing these little reviews because I'm basically all I have to go by is the set list, looking at
yeah,
it as a, and I was looking at that one and I was kind of like, that you didn't get like a new tour debut or anything. It was, especially if you had
right,
been kind of studying the set list, like
hmm,
you're like, yeah, they just kind of shuffled around some stuff. Oh
right,
no, are we starting to see this is going to be the kind of pattern or, and
right,
then luckily it
yeah,
seems like they stepped it up on the next one. And like you're saying, it's not even a knock. It's just kind of like you would, what you would expect based on this. It was some of the same structures and stuff as
hmm,
the other one, and very few like hot, hot, hot as like the big surprise in the first night. You're like,
right.
okay, cool.
Like
But
because they played in between days in the forest in the main set, I
yeah,
knew like, all right, so they're gonna
something's
play a
gonna
different pop song in the second encore, and they're probably gonna play Disintegration in the first
yeah.
encore, and that'll be the last song.
So yeah, I guess that second night then is the one where we'll focus on. 'Cause-
Yeah. So a similar thing happened to me when I saw them at the Shoreline in 2016.
uh-huh.
Which was that, on that tour, like if they opened with Open, then they're gonna play High. If
Right.
they open with Plain Song, then they're gonna play Pictures of You. If they open
Yeah,
with
little
Out of This World,
clues.
then they'll play Watching You Fall. And so I think it was at the Shoreline in 2016, they opened with Open and then played Alt End.
Okay.
And for the rest of the show, I at that time I was like I don't know
Yeah,
what they're
anything can
doing.
happen at that point.
So they open with Alone and then Pictures of You. And then I'm thinking maybe they'll swap out A Night Like This for Kyoto Song because they
Yeah,
did
one of
that once or
those.
twice. And then they played Close Down. And
Yeah.
I'm just like
Tour
what?
debut.
Like, and yeah, from that point on, like, because then I was like, okay, maybe they're swapping out A Night Like This for this,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
play A Night Like This, and then they play Love Song, and I'm like, there haven't like there's usually just like three songs between the new songs, and now there's four.
yeah.
What's gonna happen?
It's like they put the
Um,
pattern there just to throw you off later when they break the pattern, you know?
right,
It's like,
right,
clever.
and and then it was If Only Tonight We Can Sleep, which
Yeah,
is like one of my favorite songs from the Kiss Me album.
cool.
Um, and then so Robert had introduced, I forget which one they played first, if it was A Fragile Thing or And Nothing Is Forever. But before they played that song, Robert had said, "This is a new song." And then after If Only Tonight We Could Sleep, he says, "This was a new song in 1979." And then he says, "Well, technically every song at one point is a new song." And like my wife's favorite Cure album is Three Imaginary Boys. That was one of the things that she loved so much about the Reflection show.
Yeah.
And so I look at her and I'm like, Three Imaginary Boys. She, she's like, what? Like, and yeah, that was a song I never thought I would see them do again.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that was one of the highlights of the show for me.
Awesome.
Um, Perry and Roger left the stage,
Huh.
which is understandable because it's a very bare song.
Yeah,
There's no keyboards on it. Reeves played the solo, which was just fucking fantastic.
awesome.
Um, and then the next highlight for me was Cold,
Yeah,
which I had seen them do at that Shoreline show in 2016. And I knew they were playing it on this tour. They didn't play it at the first show, so I was really hoping for it.
yeah.
Like when my wife and I were on our way to this show, we were talking about songs that we would want to see at this show, and I was like, as long as they play one song from Pornography, I'll be
Right.
happy. And uh, Burn Again, which was great.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
and
that grouping of like cold and burn together. That's
it's
like
so good.
that's pretty rad. Yeah, that's a nice
It's
little.
so good. And then I think it was after Burn was A Strange Day,
Yeah, yeah.
which I had never seen them do before.
Oh, cool.
It's one I've always wanted to see them play.
Right.
Like I was losing my shit. Um,
Awesome.
it was and something. Actually, I'll save this for later on as we talk more about the other songs that
Right
they
on.
play. Um, I didn't mind sacrificing Shake Dog Shake at the
Yeah.
second show.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I wasn't in there. Huh.
Yeah, despite loving the top,
Yeah, we
I
got it the other
will,
night too, so that's great.
right, like I will lose that for more songs from Pornography.
Yeah.
So when they didn't play Shake Dog Shake and, went into From the Edge of the Deep Green Sea, I was like, okay, after this song will be End Song.
Right.
And then again, they pull the rug right out of my feet and played 100 Years.
Yeah.
And so by this point, I've got three songs from Pornography.
Yeah, that's
Um, and I don't, I'd seen them do, I'd seen them do 100 Years before, I'd seen them do Cold before, and I'd seen them do The Hanging Garden before. But I'd only ever seen them play like one Pornography song per
shit.
show.
Yeah,
This is
never.
the first time where it was like, we're just gonna beat you over the head with it.
Awesome.
And Pornography was the other one of those first two Cure albums that made me a fan.
Yeah.
And so this was like, oh,
Yes.
fucking hell. Yes.
Excellent.
Um, I also forgot to mention Play for Today as well, which I know a lot of Cure fans really love. I think the song is really good. It wasn't one of the highlights for me, but it was still cool to see it.
Yeah. I like it in that
Uh,
spot too with Push, so they're kind of the
yeah.
two rowdy chant along ones together,
Yeah.
so it kind of
Yeah,
keeps a
exactly.
cool vibe.
Um, and then before they played I Can Never Say Goodbye, Robert said something which was to the effect of that he said, he apologized if he forgot words. He said, fortunately, I remember more words than I forget. But like after doing such an emotionally exhausting set, he might forget words. And then he said, basically, like, I wrote this next song. It's about the death of my brother, and I wish I wrote it before he died.
Hmm.
So if you have a brother or sister, just like make sure to let them know that you love them, kind of
Oh,
thing.
jeez. Yeah.
Um, and then they play the song, and I'm like, oh my God.
Everyone's a mess then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you know, because I hadn't learned my lesson by that point, I was expecting them to do It Can Never Be the Same,
Yeah.
which I should mention was a highlight of the first night.
Yeah. That's,
I'm glad they brought that song back. Um, Seeing them do it in 2016, for me, that's a five-star Cure song.
yeah. I love it. It's,
Um, it's yeah,
and so happy that it's back in for these shows because that kind of makes it like come alive again in a sense that like it seemed like
agreed.
it could have totally disappeared and just been this weird little thing that never officially got recorded or released anyway.
Right,
And
right.
so this kind of shows that it's something that might still linger around and be part of them, which is great.
Maybe on the new album, who
Yeah,
knows?
who knows? Yeah, it seems like
If they abandon Step Into the Light, I'm totally fine with that.
yeah, they could.
Leave that one behind.
Yeah.
So because I hadn't learned my lesson by that point, I was like, okay, next they'll play It Can Never Be the
Yeah.
Same. And then it was Want. As well as being a the top apologist, I'm
Mhm.
also a Wild Mood Swings
Right
apologist.
on.
Unlike Shake Dog Shake, Want is the only song from Wild Mood Swings I've ever seen them play, which like
Yeah,
still
that's
pisses me off to this day. Um, but it worked really well
cool.
coming after I Can Never Say Goodbye. That whole first encore, which was, and I don't have the paper in front of me, so I'm just
Yeah, I
going
got
off
it
memory.
here.
It
Yeah.
was I Can Never Say Goodbye, Want, 1,000 Hours, Charlotte Sometimes, and Primary.
Yeah. And Forest
Uh,
to top it off too. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's a
Um,
fucking solid block there. And an extra
so
one. They hadn't been doing six in there. It
yeah.
had just been the five. So
And so, this is something that I was talking to my wife about is that, if you look at the grouping of that song, of those songs in and of themselves, like it's a good grouping of songs. Those are
yeah.
all really solid songs. But I noticed, and this might just be me putting on like my tinfoil hat, there's kind of a thematic through line between all of those songs, which is about like wanting or losing something.
Yeah.
So in Never Say Goodbye, it's the loss of his brother.
Yeah.
Want is about wanting all of these things and not necessarily getting them. 1,000 Hours is about waiting so long for something that may or may not come. Charlotte Sometimes is, about it's about a girl,
Yeah.
but there's such a melancholic feel to that song
Yeah.
that I've always kind of gotten the sense of loss and tragedy out of that one. Primary seems to be about holding on to youth and the loss of youth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, The Forest is about losing a girl in the forest.
Yeah.
And so, and also it was a reverse chronological encore,
Yeah.
which like the jump of time between some of those songs might have been jarring for another band,
Yeah.
but like going from one into 1,000 hours felt natural. Going from 1,000 hours into Charlotte Sometimes felt natural.
Yeah. That's
It all flowed so well.
that's good.
And despite the fact that I love, like every Cure fan, I love the Disintegration album, and
Mm.
the song Disintegration is my favorite Cure song. I think that that first encore the second night was
Mm-hmm.
better than the first encore on the first night.
Yeah. Huh.
Um, because like, yeah, it's cool playing song Prayers for Rain and Disintegration, but that's kind of like, oh, well, they're all from the same album, so
Yeah,
we'll
it's
so
just
we'll just play them all
a
together.
chunk. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
rock
so of
block
course
more than
they're
a.
going to work.
Yeah, yeah,
And this felt more, like I said, it felt more thematically linked,
yeah.
which
It is
sound
interesting
more
looking at them.
more
It's and yeah, I mean, God, like that's a great point of just how seamless that much time, really is. It's like
yeah.
45 years almost of career, and it still sounds good. I mean, what the hell
And
band
it
can do that? Or you can play a new song that fits perfectly into something from 20 years ago, then into 30
yeah,
years ago, then
exactly.
40. It's like wow, yeah,
hmm
that's so cool.
And kind of like I alluded to talking about the first show, I don't mind a shortened pop set list. I actually
Yeah,
prefer the shortened pop set list.
yeah,
Like I love doing the Unstuck. I love, Six Different Ways is a super fun song, but I don't mind sacrificing those songs so I can get more songs from
yeah,
Pornography
exactly.
and more songs from 17 Seconds and Faith and, deeper cuts off the Kiss Me album.
Right on.
And which leads me to what I was going to say earlier, but I said I would hold it off, is that, being the age that I am and becoming a Cure fan when I became a Cure fan, like I'm I wasn't alive for the Prayer tour.
Yeah.
I was like 10 when they toured for Blood Flowers.
Right.
And so looking at those set lists that are very, faith heavy and pornography heavy and 17 seconds heavy, like I'll download those recordings and be like, man, like I really wish I could just go to a Cure show that, you know, like is one of those darker shows.
Yeah.
And that's what the second night at the Shoreline was for
Felt
me.
like that.
It's like, yeah, there was the light at the end of the tunnel at the end,
Yeah.
Heaven and Boys Don't Cry and whatever. I say whatever. Those are
Yeah.
great songs. I love
Yeah.
those songs. But I just love, and I'm sure this is like emotionally taxing on, especially Robert having to sing these songs.
Yeah.
But having such an intense like main set and that first encore, that was kind of like the show I always wanted as a fan
Yeah.
that I just was never around to see.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like no disrespect, like those 2016 shows were great,
Yeah.
but there were however many encores of the pop stuff and
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And like the reflection show is still like the single best show I've ever gone to in my life.
Right.
But of course that's going to be a darker, heavier show because of what it
Yeah. The
was.
era.
And so just like the fact that this was a show where they could have gone the easy route and just kind of slotted out a couple songs like they did at the first Shoreline show, but they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I like like I said, like I kept having the rug pulled out of me, like song after song after song. It was to the point where I was like, I don't even know what the fuck they're gonna do. Like
Right.
like after they played Charlotte Sometimes, I looked at my wife and I was like, I think I know what song they're gonna play. Like I think they're gonna play a Forest because
Yeah.
5 songs in the first encore, and then they played Primary. I'm like, I give up. Like I have no
Yeah.
idea what they're gonna
That's the
do.
best when they just crack the formula and you're just, yep, you don't know
Yeah, like
because so much
I'm
of it
just
is
along for the ride.
yeah, the suspense of like, oh man, anything's possible now. That's so cool.
Yeah, and like I said, those 2016 shows were great, but that second Shoreline show, next to the Reflection show, best
Yeah,
Cure concert I've ever gone to. Like
awesome.
like no competition with
Excellent.
like any of the other Cure shows I've ever gone to.
Yeah.
Um, like Robert sounds fantastic. Like my wife and also one of her friends went with us the first night. Like my wife's friend kept looking at the both of us and being like, he sounds so good.
Yeah.
Like he still sounds fantastic. The band is in top form. Jason's fucking
On another,
killing it.
yeah.
Like I said, Reeves is killing it. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just killing it. And and something that like I made this, like I made a post on Instagram with pictures that I took and whatnot. But
Uh-huh.
the thing is, like, if this were the last, I hope it's not, but if
Yeah.
this were the last Cure show I ever went to, okay,
And it's crazy because, like, yeah, that idea that, technically a band at that age, you do kind of give them the free pass for them to kind of fall apart a little bit, and you're like, we would still be here, man. This would still be amazing, But the fact that these shows, I was blown away by that with the European tour last year,
yeah,
where so many people were saying, I've been seeing this band like so many times, or even people who've only seen them a handful of times. Like, and this was the best one. It was the best
yeah.
show. And it's like that they're still doing that at this age, and is amazing, and I love it.
And I'm glad that you mentioned the European shows because that was another thing going into both of these shows was I was kind of like, oh, like Europe got the dark set list.
Yeah, yeah,
They got Faith. They got the Drowning Man. They got the
yeah.
Figurehead.
And even Close Down
And
was like
so,
pretty common. I think for a lot of those shows, that was kind of the
yeah,
one they were plugging in around that 4 or 3
yeah.
slot. So that's
And
awesome.
like I'd seen them do that song a couple times in 2016, and I had kind of resigned myself to the fact that I would never see them do that song again.
Yeah,
And so for them to just pull it out so casually,
yeah.
I'm like,
Awesome.
yeah, like,
Yeah, and it's crazy looking at it too of what a wonderful combo it is too. It's hard to do that in hindsight, I guess, on the first night. But when you look at the full list of what you got on the first night, and then paired with how awesome that second night was
right,
too, because it is like on certain ones you're like, oh, like the first night. You didn't get 1,000 hours, but they played it on the
right,
second one. You didn't get cold on the first one, but you got it on the second
it's like,
one, and
right,
and then there really wasn't any other trade offs, I guess, on the last one. What Shake Dog Shake, like you're saying, I think was the only.
well, and also Six Different Ways wasn't
Yeah,
played,
and
and
doing the
neither was
unstuck.
Brandy Unstuck. But
Yeah,
again, like
yeah,
I
that's
can, I can
totally.
leave. I've seen them do them. Well, now I've seen them do Six Different Ways, but like, I've
Yeah,
seen them doing the Unstuck a couple times before. It's fine, whatever. I mean, like, personally, I'd be way more jazzed to see them play A Letter to Elise.
yeah, yeah. It's
Like,
funny. That's come up with so many people who are like, I still want to hear Letter to
I
a
saw them do
hopefully.
it at one of the Hollywood Bowl shows,
Yeah,
and that's one of the songs I've resigned myself for
yeah. It's
years to the
weird that
fact I'll
that's a
never see
rare
them do it
one.
again.
It's like, yeah, that should. How could you have that song and not play it every night? It's so weird. It's like that's pretty cool. That's that you have that nice back catalog where you can be like, nah, I'm not playing that tonight.
Yeah,
But
but that's the other thing is, The Cure in a lot of ways have set a standard or they've set the bar at a point where not a lot, if no other legacy act, I think can hit it.
yeah,
Because like I know I mentioned Depeche Mode earlier.
yeah,
Um, I saw them a couple times in March. I saw them for the first two shows of their current tour. And like a t-shirt, a t-shirt is $45. And also, I saw them two nights in a row. They're playing a great show, but they played the same exact show.
yeah,
And, I get it if visuals and big screens and whatever, if that's so integral to your set.
yeah,
But on the other side of it, The Cure has visuals for almost all of their songs.
yeah.
They're doing different songs. Like, I'm just like, I saw Duran Duran last year
Hmm.
and they sucked.
Yeah.
Like, it was like watching a wedding band that didn't want to be there.
uh,
And I know people who went who are fans and were like, oh my God, it was so great, XYZ, whatever.
yeah,
And I feel like The Cure has really proven that, at least as far as like legacy bands go,
yeah,
it's time to stop accepting the bare minimum.
yeah.
just because they're playing Hungry Like the Wolf
Right.
doesn't mean that it's a good performance of Hungry Like the Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw them 2 nights in a row and they played maybe 40-ish different maybe 40 to 45 different songs between those 2 nights.
Hmm.
Like when I saw them the 3 nights at the Hollywood Bowl, like I don't even know how many different songs were between
Right.
those three shows. And they play for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I just feel like at this point, like there is no excuse for other bands
Yeah.
to either, you know, switch stuff up night to night or stop charging so much for merch and also fuck Ticketmaster.
Yeah. For sure.
Like if you told me last year that Robert Smith would be the one going to bat against Ticketmaster and
Right.
fighting Ticketmaster,
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
have been
It was just
like, that's wishful thinking. It's not going to happen.
yeah. And just all that stuff of like how fast he was reacting on it too and stuff,
I
I love
loved it.
love these guys, but moving fast on things isn't really usually their forte.
No,
So
no,
it's
not
like
at
he's
all.
all getting everybody refunds and shit. I was like, whoa,
Right.
man, what the hell is going on? He's like,
I usually delete my old emails, but I'm keeping the
yeah, I got a
one
little
that says,
screenshot of
like
that
this like this partial refund is because of Robert Smith. Like
totally.
print that out, put it on your wall.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it was
And
just like
so,
even if it was all that business, it was like this is the most we've heard from Robert in like consecutive like comments. I loved it,
right,
I wished it was happier news a lot of the times, but it was great. We are getting constant interaction with him. But
right. And it really showed, like the price of the merch and the whole Ticketmaster thing and the changing of the set lists and the length of the shows all plays into the fact that like this is a guy who really cares about his fans
yeah,
and really wants his fans to have an equal experience.
yeah,
Whether you're the person who's been seeing them since, you know, like the Head on the Door era, or if this is your first show,
right,
like he really wants you to come away feeling like you weren't ripped off in any aspect of that, of the entire thing.
yeah.
And I'm like fuck, I thought I couldn't love him even more.
Yeah, I know, right? This guy's amazing. Yeah, it's
It's
great. He
fantastic.
doesn't half-ass things, He always he goes full
No,
throttle, and it would be so easy, especially at this point in their career and everything they have done, to just be like, yeah, whatever, let's just coast it out for about 10 more years,
right,
and
right.
But yeah, it's
We'll
pretty.
just show up and play the hits and that'll be it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they could totally do that, and we'd still be like, yeah, we're there, but this is so
Right.
much better. It's,
Yeah.
very cool.
And like you said, like they're a band that has such a deep back catalog that they can like they could do a tour debut. They could do two tour debuts at every show
Yeah, it's
and not run out of material.
yeah. And again, it shows that he gives a fuck, because it's like clearly they're not his favorite songs, or he would be playing them for the last 20 years or whatever. So he's clearly
Right.
he's like, yeah, that's a cool song we haven't revisited, So it's thinking, and being smart that is gets us all riled up and, yeah, they're playing this, and
Right.
that's cool.
Yeah. And kind of like what I said, talking about like the theme of that first encore is like 1,000 hours does fit in
Yeah.
with the overall theme of the show.
Yeah.
6 different ways, even though it's not a single, does fit in with the pop sound of that second encore.
Yeah. For sure. Very cool. How was the crowd and stuff?
I can't say so much for the first show because I was on one, but
Yeah.
the second show, there was a stretch from maybe whatever the second new song was they played, either a fragile thing or a nothing is forever. But there was a stretch from that
Mm-hmm.
like push where just everyone was sitting down. It was
Yeah.
great for me because I got a better view.
Yeah.
But it's like they're playing Three Imaginary Boys. Why isn't everybody going crazy?
Yeah.
Like or They're playing cold. Why aren't you losing your mind?
Yeah, that's so weird. It's like, well, I'm hanging out. So,
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm like, how isn't everybody just like dying during these songs?
yeah. Interesting. So yeah, so everybody was fairly chill then, but at least
Very
not
chill. There
not
was
obnoxious at
one,
least, hopefully.
no one obnoxious. The person immediately to my right didn't seem to know any of the songs, which was weird. I'm like, why are you here? But okay, whatever. But I wouldn't say that the crowd was bad. It just felt like at least during that run, like those are the people who come alive during the second encore.
Yeah, they're like,
Like they were the more casual fans, which is fine.
yeah,
Cool, whatever,
yeah,
great. So it's cool that also that the Cure realizes that there are people who are only there for the hits.
yeah,
And so, sprinkle a couple in the beginning
right.
and then, you know, just throw them all in at the end, give the people what they want, so to
Yeah,
speak. That pop encore for the second night, I think, was a lot more palatable the second night for me because, what like I said earlier, it wasn't so long, but also because it felt like that second show up to that point had been much more heavy.
yeah,
And so even though it was a shorter set, it was still now we can
yeah.
breathe. Now it's okay.
A little bit more of like a celebrational finale, maybe, or
Kind of,
something like,
yeah.
yeah. Or it's like,
Yeah,
okay, this is,
totally. Yeah, I think that The Walk, the second night, was one of those songs where, I've seen them do that at almost every show.
yeah,
But something about it the second night, like it
they're
had
pretty good.
it was much more potent.
Yeah, huh.
Because Lullaby is a great song, but it doesn't really feel like it. It's a very ballsy single because it doesn't sound like a single.
Right,
In the context of Disintegration, it does because
right,
it's one of the only songs under 5 minutes.
right.
But The Walk really felt like now here's
No, we're having
from here
fun.
on out is
Yeah.
the good vibes portion
Right.
of the show.
Yeah.
So The Walk was really kind of like, oh right, like cool, great. Now we can chill out.
Yeah. Huh. Cool. Well, man, yeah, well, that sounds like a hell of a roundup, I guess, as we start to wrap up here. I guess as far as the people have been loving the poster art, what do you think of the gig poster for this one? I guess it's the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Is that it's a little more
Well,
San Francisco?
um, I I commented on one of the posts about it,
Yeah.
and I said I want to find who did it and throttle them for
Yeah.
doing the worst poster. I
Work.
mean, now I've seen the Portland one, so I take it back. But the thing is, like, it's not okay. First of all,
See, we're going full circle with the San Francisco thing. It's great.
right. First of all, they didn't play San Francisco. They played Mountain View.
Yeah.
But second of all, that's not even the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden
Yeah.
Gate Bridge
What?
has two towers.
Oh, okay.
And I saw somebody make the argument, oh, right, well, no, it's the Bay Bridge.
Ah,
The Bay Bridge, in its current iteration, I think has four towers.
okay.
But so the Bay Bridge is what connects Oakland to San Francisco.
Right.
And in the middle is Treasure Island. So you go on the bridge, and then there's a little stretch where you're going through the island, and then you're on the second part of the bridge. And because of that, the first tower or the first two towers look nothing like the second and third one, or the third and fourth ones. So it's not the Bay Bridge either, because the towers on this bridge all look the exact same.
Ooh. Hmm.
And I felt like this person took like the easiest way out, like, oh, San Francisco, so
Some
there's
kind
a
of bridge.
Right.
Huh.
Like it was cool that for the Phoenix, Arizona show, it had a Phoenix on it. For that one
Yeah.
Texas show, it was a cowboy rodeo thing. But I also really loved, for that New Orleans one.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. Or the Dallas one, that's that really hyper popped out version of that photo of Robert from the prayer tour
Yeah. With all the
with the
flowers.
flowers on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shirt. Like I love that. Or even even the Hollywood Bowl ones with the forest reference. And this just felt like the person did the bare minimum. Like, all right, well, how many letters are in that band name? All right, that's how many towers there are going to be.
Right.
Just
Yeah, yeah, I can see
did
that.
not
Sorry to
didn't
hear.
care, did
Yeah.
not care for that.
Fair enough, for
The
sure.
posters were the worst thing about the shows.
Good. Well, I guess that's a good thing. If
0 out
that's
of 10, show's ruined.
the churros were good. So
Churro was good.
check.
It wasn't as crunchy as I like.
If we're gonna miss out on two things, I guess the posters and the snacks.
Yeah.
And so,
It's like an al dente churro.
Okay. Yeah, not quite where it needs to
It's
be.
fine.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, we'll let you go there. We don't want to keep you too long, but I really appreciate you walking us through that. That definitely makes
Yeah.
a lot more sense of just looking at the set list. And because I'm hearing a lot of people are like really praising this is the one we all want that second night. Everyone's if we could put in our request for the city, that's the night, that set list. We want that one. So
I wouldn't be surprised, and again, I have no idea what the rest of the tour is going to look like, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the show that people compare every other set list on the tour to.
Right. Well, hopefully their ears are open and they'll keep that in their back pocket too and sprinkle it out there occasionally.
And I hope you get one of those.
Yeah, hopefully if I cover enough of them, it's like the lotto if you buy enough tickets, right, or something.
Right, exactly. You're sure to
help your odds.
Win sometime.
Because that would have killed you if you'd done the first night and just said, I'll skip the second. Then you see that and you're like, oh, And
I would have been so pissed off.
So yeah, that's the worst case scenario. So definitely glad that didn't happen, and you got a solid combo and second night. Very cool, and always great to hear from you, man. Thanks so much. How's the music going? You got new stuff in the works?
I'm playing a festival in New Orleans in October, so I'm hoping that between now and then I'm able to get some new stuff done, because I kind of the album that I came out with a couple years ago, I still like it a lot, but it's time to start playing new stuff. It's time to start writing new stuff.
Cool. That'll be good. I hope so. You got a good chunk of time now, so I think so. And hopefully, and anyone else out there, Violator on all streaming services, right? You should be able to find it on there. I know I've seen it on Apple. Is it on everything else? I'm assuming probably. Yeah. With
a backslash instead of the L.
L. Yes. Cool. Yeah. Check it out, people. You'll dig it. And
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll let you go there and talk to you soon. We'll have to do some more casual Cure chit chat soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
I'll talk to you later.
Talk hard. All right, again, a very special thank you to Tyler. Always a pleasure talking to Tyler and having him back on the show, and for contributing and telling us every little detail of the Mountain View shows there. So, sound like an amazing couple of nights. But we got 2 more shows to cover too before we wrap up here. I'll try to make it as short and sweet as possible, but I don't want to neglect the fine performances that went down on May 31st, the 13th show of the tour, Wednesday night, Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. 16-song main set. Yep, unique songs alternating included. See how I said that? Instead of we're doing the numbered slots, we'll just say the cool, unique, alternating songs. If Only Tonight We Could Sleep was once again slipped into the set. 1,000 Hours was thrown back into the main set. We had Play for Today in there. We had Shake Dog Shake back in the action. And we had another tour debut. Yes, they're still doing it. This time in the number 10 slot, we had M. Everybody loves that song. So happy, and I hope it is a regular. I would love to see that on the upcoming shows. So M is in the mix now, bringing that to the 49th song that they've played on this tour so far. I believe Europe maxed out at 50, and I think like 2 or 3 of those were thrown in on the final night even. So we're already at 49, and they haven't even gotten to the Midwest yet. So who knows what the hell's going to happen, or else maybe This is where we can start kind of cooling our jets and not expecting the world from these guys. But who knows? M is in the mix, and I couldn't be happier about that. And so cool that everyone out in Portland got to hear M. Encore 1, you heard the combo again. They had it back in action of I Can Never Say Goodbye and It Can Never Be the Same. One of these times I'm going to say both those back to back perfectly. It's not tonight though. At Night was played there. Plain Song and Disintegration. So in this one they switched At Night before Plain Song and Disintegration. Not sure how that would impact the flow maybe, but maybe tightens the disintegration feel of Plain Song to Disintegration a little better. Encore 2. We did an 8-song version of the Pop Encore this time. Same order as like the Notorious 9 that we had from the start, but this time they left out doing the Unstuck. So 6 different ways is in there, but we didn't have doing the Unstuck. So we had 8 songs. A little more compact, but not quite the stripped down 7 that Europe got and Tyler got on the second night. So we'll call this the Electric 8. Yeah. Still no Another Happy Birthday. So what's up with that? That new song, is it gone forever? We don't know. But it was not played in San Francisco either night, and it was not played in Oregon. So, I didn't get a chance to catch any of the live streams on that one and haven't had time to watch any floating around footage. I'm sure it's out there. But I was, talking to Tyler. So, Wednesday night. So, yeah, this is a paper review only. So, don't judge me. But judging by the smiles on the faces of people that I saw pictures of at that show, it seemed like it was awesome, and the band is in full maximum power mode again and crushing it as they carry that energy into June 1st, Thursday night's show, 14th show of the tour. June 1st, what? Simon's birthday? Goddamn right it is. Happy birthday to Simon. And it's at the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington. Eden posted a picture before the show of them hanging out backstage. Simon's playing around on the bass. We got a birthday cake in front of him. We got Robert leaning over talking to him. Everyone's got smiles on their face. Roger was sitting there. Reeves was in the back. And who else was there? Noel Gallagher of Oasis was just hanging out. Yep. And it was an all chocolate birthday cake from what I could tell. So if anybody wants to make note of that to surprise him with a chocolate cake at some point. That seems to be his favorite. I was curious. I looked up to see if Noel Gallagher, did he just fly in for that show? Is he just hanging out, It does turn out that the Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds are kicking off their summer tour in Auburn, Washington, tonight, actually. So the night after this, so June 2nd. So he came in a little early, hanging out with the boys. So a little bit of a crossover at least. So he wasn't like just, I fucking love the kid. But he recently did that remix of the new Noel song. Noel has some good solo shit, by the way, too. So that was kind of cool to see this. And it's funny, he's been coming up a lot lately. Henson, my little boy, he has been starting to learn how to play guitar and stuff, and somehow he's really like just obsessed with Don't Look Back in Anger, so he wanted to learn that, so he's been working on a cover of that. And this just like blew his mind this morning when I told him, I was like, hey, guess what? Your buddy Noel Gallagher was at the Cure show last night, and he's like, what? They're friends? So who knows? But pretty cool. Robert was wearing a Nirvana shirt. Of course, he's in Seattle, so the theme continues. And looks like he's still... I wonder if he's buying them in the city or if he packed all these, but who knows. Let's see, setlist-wise. Close Down was once again in there, so that was rad. Last Day of Summer was sprinkled into this one. It Can Never Be the Same was pushed earlier into the set, making it not the follow-up in Encore 1, so I wonder what will be in the slot there. Hungry Ghost was in the set list, so we know that was probably Simon saying, it's my birthday. I won't play fucking Hungry Ghost. So, sure enough, it's in there. So then we get to Encore 1. I Could Never Say Goodbye kicked it off as usual, followed by Want. And then another Happy Birthday returns. I don't know if they only brought it back because it was Simon's birthday, but it's kind of really fucking sad. So I don't know if he'd be like bringing it back just to for the Simon connection. So that's cool though, that it's not like something they're going to totally abandon, and it has potential, a new song that might or might not get played. So that's kind of cool. Shake Dog Shake is in the first encore, so that was kind of odd. And then we see the return of 100 Years again, which is very cool and promising to see that they already brought it back around again, only skipping the next night there. So that's cool. And that capped off Encore 1. Encore 2, they got 8-song version again of the Notorious 9. This time, instead of leaving out Doing the Unstuck, because you can't do that. Because remember what Simon said in that little interview? The only 2 songs he really mentioned as being personal favorites, Hungry Ghost and Doing the Unstuck. So, of course, that one's going to be in there. They leave out 6 different ways, though. So, sorry, Seattle, you don't get to hear 6 different ways. But it's an amazing set list nonetheless. I think even Noel Gallagher couldn't bitch about that set list. Oh, fucking good set list. Huh? So I love Noel. I miss his quotes in the media. So anytime you get to read some Noel quotes, those are great. All right, so I think that's about it. Sorry to kind of blow through Portland and Seattle, but didn't have any official contributions from those. And just looking at it, they look like solid, awesome sets. Just based on everything on paper. So we got a new song, like I said, M in Portland, and we got the return of another Happy Birthday, so that doesn't mean that one's dead and buried, and we get a lot of stuff still staying alive, you know. It's funny with these songs that got sprinkled in, you kind of think of them as like you can't let it touch the ground, like that old balloon game you'd play as a kid, you know, where you can't let the balloon touch the ground. And I feel like when they hit the ground, maybe they're disappearing for good. But I don't know. I wouldn't really count out any of them at this point. So any song of the 49 that you've heard, you know, you can still hold out hope that they're going to play that when The Cure rolls into your town. And they're crossing the border now. They are playing tonight. In about a half hour at the time of recording this, they're going to kick it off and play in Vancouver, Canada. So hopefully we'll have some good scoop on how that all went in the next installment of Shows of a Lost World Tour Updates on the Holy Hour Podcast. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check out on Instagram the Cure Arts Collab, hashtag Cure Arts Collab. That's a project that Kate put together to honor Simon on his birthday, and all kinds of great art and portraits done. So go check it out at Cure Arts Collab on Instagram. And a huge shout out to my brother. There's no way in hell if he did start listening to this, he made it all the way to the end here. But his birthday's today. So happy birthday, Marshall. You're an amazing human and I love you to death. So happy birthday, Marshall. And I think that's about it. Anything else? Anyone? Thanks again to Tyler for telling us all about San Francisco. Oh shit, I keep saying it. They labeled it as San Francisco. It's not my fault. It's Mountain View, California, San Francisco area. And yeah, hope you guys that went to the Portland and Seattle shows had a blast. Whew, I'm talking real fast. I need to calm the fuck down. All right, let's just chill. And I'll see you next time around, okay? Cool. See, it's still under an hour. We did it. Goodbye. Talk hard.